From 6ix9ine making a career of trolling the dead, to now filing for bankruptcy, to Lil Xan's overdose close calls and public breakdowns, the clout chasers of the SoundCloud era are living proof that internet fame comes fast and disappears even faster. So back in the late 2010s, these guys weren't just artists. They were walking viral moments that dominated the social media era, stirring controversy at every turn. Bright hair, face tattoos, reckless behavior, it was all part of the formula. And it worked. Millions of views, platinum records, and sold out shows. But what happens when the clout runs out? Fast forward to today, and their careers are in freefall. 6ix9ine is drowning in debt, struggling to stay relevant with his constant rebrand. Then there's Lil Xan's career, and that's been overshadowed by the drug abuse and mental health struggles. And there's Lil Pump. After flexing millions, he's been forced to fake his lifestyle just to keep up appearances. It went all so wrong so quickly. But how did they get here? And what is their current state right now? So in today's video, we're going to look at what they've been up to recently and really evaluate the dark side of chasing clout. Alright, let's get into it. Okay, so let's rewind to 2016. The SoundCloud era rap was popping, giving birth to a new generation of artists who bypassed the traditional industry gatekeepers. Among this crowd was Gazi Garcia, also known to the world as Lil Pump. Without any prior experience to music, he uploaded his first track, and thanks to the power of social media, of course, it took off. With Lil Pump's aggressive delivery, simple yet infectious hooks, and rebellious attitude caught the attention of young listeners. And because of the DIY nature of the SoundCloud era, this allowed him to build a cult following almost overnight. Soon enough, he was racking up millions of streams and labels took notice. But what really changed for him was Gucci Gang, released in 2017. With its repetitive hook and catchy beat, Gucci Gang peaked at the number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, making Lil Pump one of the biggest names in rap at the time. This newfound success led to a massive $8 million record deal with Warner Bros. He was collaborating with artists like Kanye West, hopping on high-profile features, and flaunting his worth at every single turn. Lil Pump's gimmick stretched from flaunting to absurd amounts of money to dyeing his hair in rainbow colors, and this helped him to stay in the spotlight. But as we'll later see, relying solely on gimmicks can be a dangerous game. You see, Pump wasn't just a rapper, he was a character, a meme, a walking controversy. His social media presence thrived on outlandish behavior. But with fame came scrutiny. His lyrics, often criticized for being simplistic, began losing their charm. Fans and listeners who once found him entertaining start to see through the act as his controversies mounted. Arrest for disorderly conduct, drug possession, and reckless behavior, his reputation took a hit. What once seemed like a fun, rebellious artist started to look like a cry for attention. Throughout his career, Lil Pump engaged in a lot of clout chasing stunts just to stay relevant. For one, he tried to fake a retirement. Pump announced his retirement multiple times, only to return days later for publicity. Then there was a fake drug overdose. Pump once posted a video pretending to have an overdose, alarming fans before revealing it was a joke, which is kind of sick if you think about it. This man really tried to fake his death just to grab attention. But with this guy, it seems like no boundary can be crossed. It never seemed like Lil Pump had a moral compass. From setting money on fire to throwing expensive jewelry into the ocean, Pump regularly wasted wealth just to get in headlines. And if he wasn't doing this, he was forcing beef with other rap public figures. Beefing with artists like J. Cole, which was just out of nowhere, Eminem, and most surprisingly, even a rock legend like Ozzy Osbourne. Simply writing out their names just for clout. Oh, and then there's his endorsements for political figures. In 2020, he endorsed Donald Trump last minute, appearing on stage, and with Lil Pump even calling him Lil Pimp. The move was definitely unexpected, but it was clearly a bid just for desperate attention, both on Trump's side and Lil Pump's. But despite the antics, other than his trash music, but personally, the major part that played into Lil Pump's decline was his beef with J. Cole. When J. Cole dropped 1985, a song seemingly directed at Pump, it was a wake-up call for the industry. See, at first, Lil Pump played it off, but over time, Cole's word proved to be prophetic. Because as the SoundCloud rap's hype faded, artists who have failed to evolve started to lose their audience, and Pump was definitely one of them. Every album after Gucci Gang flopped, with critics and fans calling them uninspired. Even his collaboration with Kanye West on I Love It turned out to be a short-lived gimmick rather than a career revival. And as his career declined, so did his finances. Reports surfaced that Lil Pump owed hundreds of thousands of dollars in unpaid taxes. So for someone who once bragged about spending millions of dollars on jewelry and cars, it became clear that his wealth was not managed wisely. But then again, can we really trust a guy that looks like this to have good money management? Yeah, I don't think so. And the funny thing is, the price tag on fame isn't just financial, it's also personal and artistic. See, Lil Pump's story is not unique in the era of the SoundCloud media-driven fame. He thrived on Clout but failed to adapt. Compare him to other artists that blew up in the SoundCloud era, including Lil Uzi Vert. They evolved the sound. Before his passing, Juice WRLD expanded his artistry, and of course, Playboi Carti has completely reinvented his image, becoming one of the biggest streamed rap stars of this era. Then there was just Lil Pump in the other corner, just remaining stagnant. Every artist should know that reinvention is key in the music industry. Artists like Drake and Kanye have maintained relevance by adapting to new sounds and audiences. Lil Pump, tramped in his own gimmick, never did. Where is Lil Pump now? Well, Lil Pump is a shadow of his former self. While he has teased new music projects, including a Spanish language album apparently, there have been no significant releases or chart-topping hits recently. He still tries to reclaim his past glory, but the industry has largely moved on. Nowadays, the only time we hear about Lil Pump is within his political endorsements and controversies. Just like in the lead up to the 2024 US presidential election, Lil Pump came back again 4 years later to show his support for President Trump. He took to social media to endorse Trump and criticized Kamala Harris and said that she was lying about her racial background. Pump stated Kamala Harris isn't even black, she's Indian. She locked up over 1,500 people for weed-related crimes and then laughed about it years later. And the same way Kamala Harris laughed years later, it's the same way people are laughing at Lil Xan for ruining his own career. For those who are unfamiliar, Lil Xan is an American rapper, songwriter, and singer from California. Born as Nicholas Diego Lenos, Lil Xan grew up in poverty, living in motels throughout his childhood. His education ended quite early when he dropped out of high school in his freshman year. He remained unemployed for years before taking odd jobs, including street cleaning and even selling drugs. Eventually, he pursued photography to support his rap friends, but after his camera was stolen, he decided to start rapping instead of buying a new one. And this just sparked the beginning of his career. Lil Xan cited Pharrell Williams as being one of his biggest hip-hop influences, including artists like Queens of the Stone Age, Cage and Elephant, and Arctic Monkeys. Also going on to mention Drake and Mac Miller as inspirations for his rap style. Blowing up in the SoundCloud era, he was often associated with the side rap movement, and his name, Lil Xan, was derived from, of course, the drug Xanax. This is a prescriptive drug to manage anxiety disorders, which kind of foreshadowed early signs of troubles to come. Lil Xan blew up with his song Betrayed in August 2017. The song peaked at number 64 on the Billboard Hot 100, marking the beginning of his success. After this, he announced his debut album, Total Xanarchy, and featured big-name artists like Sway Lee and Diplo. He began his tour in 2017 and sold out within hours, and his album was released in 2018 and debuted at number 10 on the Billboard 200, selling 28,000 copies in its first week. Shortly after, he followed up with his mixtape, Heartbreak Soldiers, in July 2018. However, from this point, Lil Xan's career started to unravel. He repeatedly made false promises about new projects, including the album called When September Ends in 2019, but it never came into production. Then a year later in 2020, ironically naming his album Sorry I Didn't Quit, again was scrapped and never released. And after years of delay, he released his EP, Have a Nice Day, in June of 2022. But by the time it dropped, anticipation for his album and fans had already given up on him. Beyond his inconsistent music output, Lil Xan became notorious for his clout-chasing antics, which further contributed to his downfall. He always made headlines for the wrong reasons, including unnecessary reviews, bizarre statements, and controversial behavior. One of the most infamous moments came in 2018 when he called Tupac's music boring in an interview. This truly sparked the downfall of his career, because after the world heard this, people instantly turned on him. People started to say that he was banned from hip-hop and even started to get death threats. But instead of handling the situation maturely, Lil Xan doubled down and continued stirring controversy. Just like with Pump, he also faked multiple retirements, claiming he was quitting rap only to return days later. And this only made fans pissed. It just seemed like he was just desperate for attention. You see, whenever a rapper is seeking validation or feels like the spotlight is not on them anymore, the quickest way to get eyes back on them and feel like they're still wanted by the industry is by announcing a retirement. In Lil Xan's case, not many people actually cared that he was going to retire. In fact, some people praised it. In another bizarre stunt, he staged a fake overdose, posting pictures in a hospital bed, implying that he was in a life-threatening situation. But when people actually started to express some concern, he later revealed that it was just an attempt to promote his anti-Xanax message to keep his name in the news. But I guess karma was quick to strike him back, because in March 2022, Lil Xan took to social media again on Instagram and claimed that he checked himself into a psychiatric hold due to mental health concerns. He claimed that he was struggling with online bullying, particularly after accusing his former manager of enabling his drug addiction by supplying him with pills whilst on tour. Some fans supported him, while others accused him of lying for drama and attention again. Lil Xan later begged with the public to stop spreading lies, stating that this was only worsening his mental health. So Lil Xan's clout-chasing antics combined with his drug addiction and inconsistent music have ultimately left his career in shambles. Lil Xan is just another could-have-been rapper. All the poor decision-making has just affected his reputation in the rap game. And because it's been so long since the SoundCloud era, a lot of his fan base have moved on. And from one obnoxious rapper to another, at one point, 6ix9ine was on top of the rap game. His aggressive style, over-the-top persona, and viral antics turned him to one of the most talked about artists in hip-hop. This guy had multi-million-dollar deals, luxury cars, jewelry worth more than people's homes, and fans across the globe. But now, his cars are being seized by the IRS. His finances are in shambles, and he's struggling to stay relevant. Looking back in 2017, 6ix9ine practically came out of nowhere and took over the internet. His unique style, gang-affiliated image, and wild music videos pulled in hundreds of millions of views. At the time, it seemed like everything he touched turned into a hit. His debut album, Dummy Boy, sold over 1 million copies, and he signed record deals reportedly worth tens of millions of dollars. But here's the thing, he wasn't famous because of his music alone. He was famous because of the chaos surrounding him. He bragged about crimes in his lyrics, trolled everyone in the industry, and constantly put himself in danger, all in the name of staying viral. The fans ate it up, and so did the FBI. You see, 6ix9ine didn't just rap about the streets, he was actually involved in some serious crimes. He was arrested multiple times for incidents including using a child in a sexual performance in 2015. In this case, a video was shown of a 13-year-old girl seen with 6ix9ine. Then 3 years later, 6ix9ine was charged with assaulting a 16-year-old in a shopping mall. And that same year, in 2018, the real takedown of 6ix9ine began. He was charged with armed robberies, shootings, and gang activity. The feds had enough evidence to hit him and his crew with RICO charges, carrying a 47-year sentence. Faced with spending the rest of his life in prison, 6ix9ine done what you would expect anyone who wasn't really about the life, and ultimately snitched on his entire crew. In a shocking turn of events, his 47-year sentence was cut down to just 2 years in exchange for testifying against 12 of his former associates. To no surprise, the internet clowned him relentlessly. He became an instant meme, saying he would rat anyone out just to get a lighter sentence. Some people called him hip-hop's Karen, while others said he'd sell out his own mother if it meant getting off easy. However, the crazy thing is, after getting locked up, it didn't hurt his career at first. In fact, it just made him bigger. He actually signed a $10 million record deal from behind bars. His first song after release, Gooba, broke YouTube records, and his Instagram Live comeback had over 2 million viewers, the most in history at the time. For just a brief moment, it looked like 6ix9ine had pulled off the impossible, snitching on the most feared gangs in New York and coming back even stronger than ever. But the illusion didn't last long. With his reputation in the mud, nobody wanted to work with him. The industry blackballed him. His album, Tattletales, flopped, selling only 55,000 units first week, his worst performance yet. And then on top of this, you had rappers like Trippie Redd laughing at him. Joe Budden called out his finances and called it a disaster because of how much money he burned through security, cars, and jewelry. 6ix9ine constantly bragged about numbers don't lie, but suddenly, the numbers weren't on his side anymore. He tried everything to stay relevant, partnering with YouTubers to make controversial content, trolling other artists and faking beefs, throwing money around just to keep up appearances, even completely rebranding, making Spanish music. But none of it really worked. His money problems just got worse. 6ix9ine needed cash, fast, so he took a 2 million streaming deal with Rumble, promising to play video games for just 1 hour a week. But then he barely showed up. Former friend Steve Will Do It exposed him, revealing that 6ix9ine never paid for child support, owed over $10 million in back taxes, and even scammed strippers by throwing bottles at them instead of money. And now by this point, the IRS was knocking at his door. His cars, including his Rolls Royce, McLaren, and Lamborghini, were seized. With his finances in the ruin, he tried launching a fake cryptocurrency called Dummy Coin, and even begged fans to buy so they could win a meet and greet in Romania. That flopped too. But then he signed one last $6 million record deal on one condition: he couldn't get arrested. But guess what? He got arrested again. Not only that, but he tested positive for meth. With his last lifeline gone, the record deal fell through. Crazy, 6ix9ine once had $20 million in his bank account. Now he can't even pay his credit card bill. At one point, he was the face of the rap game's new wave. Now he's just another cautionary tale. Clout gave him everything, and Clout took it all away. Similar to 6ix9ine's story, at one point, Boon Gang was one of the biggest names in social media, but for all the wrong reasons. His viral rise wasn't because of talent or creativity, but because of chaos. He built his brand on recklessness, criminal behavior, stealing from stores, running off without paying, and filming it all for clout. For a little backstory, Boon Gang's childhood was rough. Born into poverty, he faced homelessness and neglect, setting the stage for desperation and recklessness that would later define his online persona. When social media started blowing up, Boon saw an opportunity, not to showcase talent, but to go viral for chaos. He was known for running into stores, grabbing food, clothes, or shoes, and running out without paying. Doing all this while yelling, and it actually worked. Instagram skyrocketed to over 5 million followers, his videos were shared everywhere, and soon brands and influencers started reaching out to work with him. But don't get it twisted, this was not success. This was self-destruction disguised as fame. As his fame grew, so did his problems. With money coming in, he started partying harder, using drugs, and pushing the limits of his reckless behavior. In 2018, he was arrested for theft and trespassing, hit into multiple mugshots and court appearances. Then there was his drug abuse, his lifestyle was fueled by Xanax, lean, and other substances, which just made him very unpredictable and erratic at times. Then came the Instagram ban. His account, worth millions in brand deals, was permanently deleted after he posted explicit content. So basically, overnight his career vanished. Without Instagram, the money dried up. The fame disappeared and he was left with nothing. Then things got worse. At his lowest points, Boon lost his brother. The grief pushed him into deeper drugs and his behavior became even more dangerous. In 2019, he got into a violent altercation that left him with a broken jaw. He later revealed that he could barely eat or speak for weeks. The pain wasn't just physical, it was a brutal wake-up call. It was during this time in a jail cell that everything changed. He met an inmate who introduced him to faith. Desperate for a way out, he turned to Christianity and decided to change his life. That was the birth of John Cabana. Determined to leave his past behind, John Cabana quit drugs, focused on self-improvement, and embraced Christianity. Instead of making viral theft videos, he started to make music about faith, growth, and positivity. He even reached out to fellow artists, including Kodak Black, to share his story of redemption. But transformation wasn't easy. Despite his efforts, his family, especially his mother, publicly challenged his narrative, claiming he was misrepresenting his past. The conflict between his mother made his journey even harder, but he remains committed to his new life and message. Today, John Cabana is focused on faith, music, and rebuilding his life. He's been releasing Christian music, staying sober, and using his platform to spread positivity. He's also working on reconnecting with his family, despite the public disputes with his mother. While the road hasn't been easy, he's proven that transformation is possible. From a clout chaser to a man of faith, John Cabana's story is a powerful reminder that chasing internet fame can cost you everything, but redemption is always within reach.